What's up? Hey, welcome back to another video. Now today, we're gonna be back to the Barack Obama, spread the wealth around, Thomas Sowell. Y'all know how I feel about Thomas Sowell. Thomas Sowell is like...
Ruth is calling me, so...
Y'all know how I feel about Thomas Sowell. That was Mama Bear if y'all want to know. But y'all know how I feel about Thomas Sowell. So, let's hop right into the reactions. No time to waste. Right into it. Uh-oh. Okay, maybe not right into it. Hold on, y'all. We're experiencing some technical difficulties. Alright, and now, let's go.
The constrained vision sees market economies as responsive to systemic forces, the interaction of innumerable individual choices and performances. The unconstrained vision argues that this is not how the economy operates, that it is currently obeying the power of particular interests, and should therefore be made in future to obey the power of the public interest. Close quote. Explain that.
Okay, hold on. Before he explains, I kind of want to get my notebook because I'm going to write when he's talking. Because y'all always be saying, hey, you ain't listening, you ain't listening, you ain't listening. And then I'll go back and I'll be like, what? I listened to everything he said. So, okay. Let's run it back a little bit. Let's run it back. Let's see what he asked again. Right there.
As responsive to systemic forces, the interaction of innumerable individual choices and performances. The unconstrained vision argues that this is not how the economy operates, that it is currently obeying the power of particular interests, and should therefore be made in future to obey the power of the public interest. Close quote. Explain that.
Basically, he believes in the invisible hand. He thinks that the government will, the market will save itself, is what he's trying to say. That the market will, you don't have to have government intervention. Just let the market, allow the market to be the market.
Well, they imagine that they can define the public interest by themselves. Whereas in a market, each individual defines his own interests himself and acts accordingly and interacting with other people and accommodating other people and competing with other people. All right.
I disagree with that. I don't think that I don't think that they believe that they can. I don't think that they believe that. Basically, talking about Democrats. So I don't think that they believe that they can shape the public interest. They can shape the public interest, or they're dictating the public interest, or they think they understand what the public interest is. I think they believe in mandating certain things, like putting regulations on things that need to have regulation on it, like environment type things, healthcare. They believe that these areas are things that we should have more regulation on in order to protect the citizen. Period.
A couple of quotations here. This time I'm not going to contrast McCain with Obama. I'm going to begin with a quotation. Here it is. We who live in free market societies believe that growth, prosperity, and ultimately human fulfillment are created from the bottom up, not the government down. Let our banner proclaim our belief in a free market as the greatest provider for the people, close quote. Ronald Reagan.
Yes, I thought so.
You did, all right. Now, John.
Wait, so, no, that makes no sense. If Ronald Reagan said that he believed that it comes from the bottom up, why did he pass so many laws that only helped the top? And why was he believed in supply-side economics. Supply-side economics is cut back regulations, cut back on businesses, cut back regulations on businesses, cut taxes, and allow the big businesses to pass some of that wealth down back to the bottom. That's the whole point of supply-side economics. That was backwards, because that's not what he initiated. He didn't, it almost, like, I don't know. It's almost like he didn't speak to the common man with his policies. But in his speeches, of course, he sounded like he did. I don't know. Let's keep going.
John McCain on September 15th. The American people are being threatened today because of greed and corruption that some engaged in on Wall Street and that we have got to fix. Close quote.
Facts. John McCain didn't say anything wrong.
What do you make of what's going on in the Republican Party?
Well,
from Reagan to McCain.
Decline. When people ask me why am I going to vote for McCain rather than Obama, it's because I prefer disaster to catastrophe.
You know what I just realized about Thomas Sowell in all reality? I got a lot to say about this dude. But you know what I just realized? I realized, like, this dude literally takes things for face value. If he likes a politician, he believes everything the politician says. Ronald Reagan said the bottom up, but that's not what he implemented. That's not what he implemented. And John McCain is talking about corporate greed. What's wrong with going against corporate greed? How is that negative? Like, I don't know. Like, I think I don't know. I think he takes the politicians he likes for face value. Or maybe he just makes bad faith arguments and people just like the bad faith argument because they're on the opposite side of the spectrum and they don't like Democrats and they try to find anybody that goes against whatever Democrats or liberals try to come up with. It's interesting.
All right. You're not supposed to throw things at me from which I have to use valuable time to recover, Tom. All right. And here, listen to an exchange between Barack Obama and Joe Wurzelbacher, now known universally as Joe the Plumber. This took place on October 11th. Joe the Plumber.
Oh, God.
Your new tax plan is going to tax me more, isn't it? Barack Obama. It's not that I want to punish your success. I just want to make sure that everybody who's behind you, that they've got a chance to success too. I think when you spread the wealth around, it's good for everybody. Close quote. What do you make of that one?
Oh, I think it's classic left ideology. And by the way, he wants to spread Joe the Plumber's wealth around. He's not spreading his wealth around. We all know about his half-brother in Africa who is living in dire poverty. It's been fascinating to me, these various people who want to spend the taxpayers' money, but who, when it comes to charitable giving and so forth on their own, have no idea of doing that. I don't know if you're familiar with the study that's been done of liberals and conservatives donating money and giving time as volunteers and donating blood and so on. And contrary to what everybody expected, the conservatives do more of all of those things. The study showed that if everyone donated blood at the same rate at which conservatives donate blood, there'd be 45% more blood donated in the United States than there is.
And also,
notice he didn't say the study. I'm just putting that out there. First things first, notice he didn't say the study. Second thing he said, Joe the Plumber. Go watch the entire video. Don't watch the snippets that they put in there. Go watch the entire video. What Joe the Plumber, what Joe the Plumber was asking was, because he's reached a certain tax bracket, now he's going to get taxed more, right? And he said, I'm getting punished for doing better in America, right? Which is a good point, right? Obama's response to him was, I'm going to get taxed at the same amount too. Like everybody who makes the same amount that I'm going to make or we are going to make, because we make a lot more and we have a lot more to give, is just going to have to give a little bit more to contribute to society because we're patriots and we want to help people get to the same position as you. And the higher you go, the more you should contribute. That's all he was saying. Joe the Plumber, I guess, didn't like the fact that didn't like that, but I don't think there was anything wrong with what Obama was saying. If I'm making $400,000 a year, $200,000 a year, $300,000 a year off my business, I don't mind giving back a little more because my business, one, is contributing to society in a certain way. Two, I want to help people grow. And three, it's just been, I don't know, it should be beneficial for everybody, whatever the government actually. Now, I need the government to spend it on things that are actually beneficial to everybody. I need the government to go help veterans. I need the government to help people with health care in the Appalachian areas get their health care that they need. I need the government to do exactly what they need to do, not go dump money into trans things or things. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with trans people, but I'm just saying like where we put our money, I don't know if that's even true. Let me back off that. But like where we put our money is what I want to know. And I even don't want it too much into defense spendings. I want it to go back into the people. Like, so... let me see any other thing he said. I mean, he brought up Joe the Plumber. Obama debunked what he just said. I just debunked what he just said because Obama definitely has promised to give back a good majority of his money to society, and he invests in so many charities. Like that's just blatantly wrong. And anyways, let's keep going.
Weren't you struck by the Joe Biden's tax forms when they were released? He's had an income that's roughly triple that of Sarah Palin, and yet his charitable contributions have been much smaller.
Absolutely.
Right. Let me try with John McCain one more time.
It's not true.
Two assertions he made in the very same 5-minute radio talk. This both come from Radio Talk on October 18th. Quote, quote, "At least in Europe, the socialist leaders who so admire my opponent are upfront about their objectives. Raising taxes on some in order to give checks to others is not a tax cut, it's just another government giveaway," close quote. Excuse me, this is not from the radio talk, but it's from a rally he gave on the same day. And he was talking about the need to address the financial crisis by buying up mortgages. Quote, "We need to give you a mortgage that you can afford so you can realize the American dream of owning your home," close quote. So which vision does John McCain represent?
He represents whichever one occurs there at the moment.
All right.
It's, he has what...
I want you guys to keep in mind, Thomas Sowell has made over 10 books, so he probably has $1 million in wealth. The other guy on this show probably has millions of dollars in wealth. Keep in mind, very wealthy people, very, very wealthy people. I make a lot of money. I do. Very wealthy people are the ones telling you guys to not want the government to give to you or not want them to give to you. Very wealthy people want you to stay exactly where you are and shut up. Keep that in mind. They don't want everybody to have the wealth. That's why very wealthy people don't want to be around you specifically. Just think about it. It's interesting. Like I don't understand like the other side of the fight, man. I really don't understand it. It doesn't sound like it speaks to the people at all. I don't see how you guys fall for this shit.
What's the Devlin called a versatility of convictions.
But here's the argument. The argument would be, look, John McCain's in a tight spot. He's trailing. He's fundamentally the constrained vision. That is to say, he fundamentally supports free markets. And his record shows an overwhelming majority of the times where there's a vote in Congress that can be recorded as free market or anti-free market, he's on the free market side. He's maneuvering here. Be realistic, Tom Sowell. Politicians have to do that. Cut the man a little slack.
Well, if I were in his camp, perhaps I would say that. My job is not to cut anybody slack. My job is to inform the people who read what I have to say.
All right. Back to Barack Obama. You mentioned the, I think you would call it a naive view of world affairs, that he places a great deal of faith in rhetoric, the ability of rhetoric to solve global problems. This reminds you of the 1930s. It reminds you of Neville Chamberlain. I read you a quotation of the notion of spreading the wealth around, and again you said that's perfectly pure socialist doctrine from the 1930s. Would you argue that this man is the most left-wing or the purest embrace of the unconstrained vision that we've seen in American politics since when? Since the New Deal?
Keep in mind, before he goes, there are people out there that make $62 billion. And in their companies, they pay people $15 an hour. Just want you guys to keep that in mind. When they talk about spreading the wealth, keep in mind that there are people out there, there are CEOs that make $9 million. And while they're telling you, you can't get overtime for this reason, you can't get this raise, your raise is very, very low because of this, your bonus may be extremely low because of this, the CEO is making $9 million or $10 million or $50 million. I can't remember what company I was looking at where some dude was making $62 million while some people at the counter were literally making $15 an hour. I'm just saying, you can't take like that $50 million that the CEO gets. That can't come down to, $2 million, okay, we give him $1 million, but 2, maybe 3, $50 million. You don't think that can go back into the company and into the workers? I don't know, man.
I think that's in American politics.
Really?
Yes. I mean, even FDR, pulled back on some things. But Obama, really, he does have the unconstrained vision, which is really an elitist vision. It says, I know what is the best to be done, and I will do it. When he says, I will change the world, you realize this is a man who has actually accomplished nothing other than advancing his career through rhetoric. And it reminds me of a sophomore in college, who thinks that he can run the world because he's never had to run anything. And you can believe that only until you have personal responsibility for consequences, and that's when it gives you a little bit of humility.
Wow.
Why don't the American people see through that? Isn't that the fundamental bent of the
because he's
founding
not a bad person. Half of the people that run the country have never been in a position to run the world. Nobody is prepared for that. I don't care what background you come from. You're not ready to completely run the world. You could come up with ideas. No one is. I don't know why that's even a topic of conversation when it comes to the presidency. No one is ready to do the presidency. No one is prepared for what it's going to take to do it. You never know what's going to happen. There's always something that goes on in every administration. My heart goes out to anybody who becomes the president. But why is it such that, why is that on Obama? Like, I heard that so much only with him. He's not ready. He's not ready. But Trump was? Clinton was? Reagan was? You know, like, think about it. Like, what makes any of them, like, none of them were ready. They came in and they did what they had to do. I don't know. It's weird. And he didn't do a bad job. Because we were doing fine in 2016. All Trump had to do was keep the car moving. He inherited Obama's economy.
That voters would see through, ultimately they'd see through nonsense.
Yes, but that was before nonsense became a large part of the curriculum of our educational institutions.
He just said nonsense became part of the curriculum. Man, this guy, I don't know if this guy's really truly an intellectual. Some of the things he says, I'm like, there's just no way this guy is truly an intellectual, man. I'm triggered every time I listen to this dude, man. But, you know, I give you guys the reaction, and I respect his opinion as a man. And definitely, like I said, on this page, we do reactions to everything. So, hey, I'm out.